A metropolis is not a bad thing if it's green, and it can be green. It can be well planned. It can be well organized. And I believe Africa will have its metropolises, but this is the Africa that I believe in. An Eden. And I think we can get there. A green, beautiful, thriving, valued continent. So how do we do it? I think the focus for Africa right now is the fact that we are endowed with such riches. We are called the poorest, the dark continent, and yet everybody says Africa right now is the richest continent. And so, where are we failing to understand that we need to protect our environment and our natural resources? I see an Africa where that is the priority, where protection of the environment is vital, it's critical, it's something we live and we breathe, where the human-wildlife conflict, which we don't talk about enough, and it really does exist in all parts of this continent that are not urban, and even here in Nairobi, as we well know, it has been addressed. That slum tourism doesn't exist. We've killed it, it's dead. Don't come and visit our slums because we don't have them anymore. We don't celebrate them. We don't live off them. But we're practicing ecotourism, and it thrives. We're a culture of value for our environment, not just the environment. But where do I live? I live in Kawangware. I have a small house. It's not a palace, but guess what? Don't throw garbage outside my house. You don't do it, I won't do it either. So it's a personal value system, which has already been talked about by Caesar, I think, that we developed. Smart utilization of that environment and of those resources. So we plan. We say, this is what we have. How are we going to use it? That is critical. Smart utilization of the desert. This is just one example. Solar energy. Sorry, I wasn't here earlier, but someone was talking about solar energy. Now just think about it. For goodness sake, if there's something we have, it's sun. I mean, we have it. We don't go through the winters, and well, not the whole continent. So let's look at our deserts and say, hold on a minute, how do we do this? How do we use that and then send out that energy somehow across the continent? We don't think about these things. I want you to go and Google the number of deserts that Africa has. I had a list on my presentation, but I realized there was no podium here, so, so I'm not even going to try to name them all. But I mean, that is a huge resource. It is wealth. Agricultural zones. James was talking about agriculture. Critical. Critical. We have to eat. We must eat. Why don't we value agriculture? But Malawi has done it. Bingu wa Mutharika just did it. So let nobody tell us it's rocket science. Over a few years in power, he's transformed Malawi. And so we have agricultural zones on the continent where we say, this land is used for this purpose. And we utilize it, and we ensure that we don't deplete the land as we practice agriculture. So again, planning. New technologies. The success of the mobile phones in Africa tells us that this continent has been dying for infrastructure, has been dying to be facilitated in so many different ways that new technologies will be embraced. So innovation and entrepreneurship are critical. You know, I talk to a lot of people in the slums, in the rural areas who despair and they think we can't do anything, we can't do anything. But have you sat down and thought about it? I've talked about the garbage outside the doorstep. And I say, why don't you get together with the young guys in your area, collect the garbage and charge everybody 10 bob a month? Just start somewhere. If you can't find a job, you're looking for a messenger's job, a driver's job, don't keep looking. If you can't find it, start somewhere. Solutions, and that's not even being as innovative as we can be because we have incredible young minds on this continent. So solutions, finding solutions to problems. We've seen young people winning awards for software development. We've seen what Ushahidi has achieved. Anything is possible. development. If youth look at development as a critical area and embrace innovation, it will transform this continent. And embracing technology for poverty alleviation, as I've already mentioned. We've talked about the youth bulge. A lot of people say this is the greatest threat to the continent, and I agree, I saw it. We saw it in 97, 98, right here in Kenya, and it happens all across the continent. But guess what? They're our greatest resource. They are. And they will change this continent. We're kind of past it, most of us here. I don't know, how many of you are under 28? Can we see some hands? Yeah, you guys are nearly past it. You're nearly past it. Under 24? 24, let's see. There, you guys have some years to transform. You know, I was at the World Economic Forum in Dar es Salaam a short while ago, and we were discussing the vision for the continent. And we had some change makers, youth across the continent, expressing their views on their vision for Africa. And one of them said, I want to know where my next meal is coming from. And it broke my heart. And I thought, if that's what we're aiming for goodness sake, aren't we better than that? Aren't we better than that? Can't we aim for so much more? And it is the young people and their approach to life that will determine a lot of these things. And if they embrace new technologies, decide to be innovative, decide to understand development, can you imagine what this continent would be? I'll come back to that. So let's take a look at what the youth do now. Let's take a look. Shot from Congo. I think that one's Somalia. Yeah? He's having fun, huh? He's having a good time. Do you see what's in his hand? You see it? You know, I see these pictures. Look at what they're holding. Who are they going to use these weapons on? Who are they going to use them on? Look at that. Look at that. Who's going to bear the brunt of that? You ask any military man, and he'll tell you, you put a weapon even into the hands of the most disciplined military officer. It's a danger. And these are young, indisciplined people who probably were not, they weren't taught, they weren't given a chance. They were taught the art of war, and not the one we read of in the book. Look at that. Do you know where this picture is from? That's Kenya. That's Kenya 2008. So why not use them for good? Why not use them for good? Sorry, somehow. Oh, there we go. So transform these young people. Get them to start doing that. Growing crops, feeding the continent, feeding the world. Just looking at that, that's Lake Turkana. Lake Turkana is an amazing lake. It's beautiful. And right now, they're damming the Omo River in Ethiopia to build a massive electricity plant. And Lake Turkana can disappear. There are 500,000 people living around Lake Turkana. When I spoke to the minister who deals with arid and semi-arid lands, he said to me, but guess what? We can buy electricity from Ethiopia. And I thought, oh, that's a good deal. So 500,000 people will lose their water, and the guys in the cities get to buy electricity. Brilliant. It's a failure to think, to plan, and to think if we just harness that solar energy, we wouldn't need to dam the Omo. Look at our beautiful beaches. The pyramids. I'm just trying to capture some of the amazing pictures of what Africa is. The wildebeest migration, which we ourselves, I think you had a picture of it, James, and you said, this is ours. but we have the capacity to destroy it because we're destroying so much else, because we're failing to understand the importance of all these things. The Congo forest, an amazing resource. You know, I was at Lake Kivu last year, and Lake Kivu is in Rwanda. Very peaceful, quiet, lovely place, brilliant. And across is Congo. And you know what? From Rwanda, you could see these commercial size cargo planes landing every like 6 to 10 minutes, and another one takes off, and another one lands. It was like Heathrow. The only other airport I've seen like that is Heathrow Airport in the UK. And I asked, what's going on? And they said, I was told those planes land empty, and they take off full. So there's a plundering going on in Africa. I think the truth is that we are scared of success, you know? So this saying, the only real failure in life is the failure to try. So I was talking to these young guys in the office. It was the night of the referendum vote, and of course some of us, you know, were up all night in the office. So I'm talking to these young guys in the office, they're cameramen. And they're tired and they're fed up and they're like, it won't make a difference anyway, who cares? You know, these guys, the leaders, will control the situation, they'll control us, nothing will change. And I looked at them and I said, you know what? If you're convinced of that, then you're absolutely right. And you can sit here talking about these leaders all night. And you know, it doesn't change anything, does it? No. Do you talk about politics often? Yes. Do you ever talk to your friends about your abilities, what they do, how you can engage in new things together, about innovation? Have you ever thought about that? And they both looked at me and said, what? I said, don't you think if I leave you guys now, it's better to have a conversation about the possibilities? Who do you know who does what? What do you love to do? What potential do you have for changing your environment? And then I started to realize, you know, it's us. It's me and it's you. This whole presentation of mine doesn't touch on leadership. Because leadership is not supposed to be talked about constantly. If leadership works, it is there to facilitate. I don't need to spend my energy thinking about it. If I spend all my time talking about my boss, there's a problem. I'm supposed to spend my time working, right? But in Africa, all we do is talk about leadership. We can't focus on anything else. And therein lies the failure. Let us start with ourselves. I was in Turkana, and I saw this amazing project where this community had it was like a lake. And I was told, you know, 6 months ago it didn't exist. And now it's transformed their lives. And I had met a woman walking, looking for water in the worst condition, no food, nothing. And you know, I have never seen such a desperate situation in my life. So when I found this community with this lake, I was so impressed. I said, how was this done? You know, what did it take? And I was told all they did was they started digging. They were given food by some donor agency, so they had the energy. So each family was told, what you do, this is your area, just dig down. Dig, dig, dig. So each family in the community was digging, 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 till they dug this massive hole. And then it rained, and that was it. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So they had their goats, and everything was fine. And then the next day, I went to another group of people, and they said, no, please, we don't want your cameras to take shots of us. And I said, why? And the interpreter told me, oh, you know, they've said that it's not a very good time to shoot them because they've had some food recently and things have not been too bad. So they've got a bit of meat. Yeah, they've got a bit of meat on their bones. And if you take that footage back to your office, then donors won't come and give them food. That really stunned me. I said, what? Are you serious? And then I started to realize that we are scared of success. We are scared of achieving. So we'd rather, guess what? We'd rather not try, because not trying is failing anyway, right? Have you ever worked with someone who's told you, you're working too hard and you're making the rest of us look bad? Can you just slow down? Or that proposal promises too much. Let's just scale it right down so that we don't have to achieve so much. Do you know that every time you don't try and you procrastinate, it's not your fear of failure, it's your fear that you're not ready for success? I believe that Africans have been through a lot. And we came out probably of colonization believing that we can't really do it. And we never convinced ourselves that we could. And so the small minority of leaders who achieved were those who knew that they could do anything they intended to do. And everybody you find at the grassroots just needs to be empowered and told you can do anything. And if you just try, you'll make a difference. And following a lot of projects that I have seen, you see, in Fist to 5, we had some people who were on the streets with pangas. And I met the same guys just a few months ago, and they've instituted huge projects. One group is in Mathare, and one group is in Kibera, and they're making a difference. And so I'm just convinced that we must decide, as Africans, because once we decide, we put the pressure on our leaders, are we going to go that way and succeed, or are we going to continue down the path of failure? It's just that simple, and I think that's what a lot of people have set up here today. It's a mindset, it's a value system, it's a decision that needs to be made. And if we do make that decision, I'm going to take us back to one of the early pictures that I had there. I think it's a particularly beautiful picture, and for me it was so important because it's what we are. If we can just get there. We have to get past these ones. We have to get, just to remind ourselves, this one stuns me, that Liberian picture. And come on, come on, come on. There we go. Is that nice? Is that worth aiming for? I think so. My final word, if you call the hotels in Mombasa, call the guest houses that are for rent to people coming in, serviced apartments, and try to find out how much one night costs, you'll get the shock of your life, because there's value in this already. So let's just protect it. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.